Rhoyal remix.
Alright. Okay, all right, I love it.
And today we have a new guest on. Tell them your name.
All right.
Or what do you go by? You can tell them your actual name, but then like, what do you go by?
All right, what's going on, y'all? My name is Antwann Easton, but I go by Twan.
Nice.
Everybody calls me that, so it just kind of stuck with me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a few this or that's to get us started.
Yo, you always get somebody with these. All right, let's see.
This is going to be fun to hear your thoughts.
Okay.
Okay, so it's kind of a mixture between like music, actual music stuff, and then like faith stuff.
Okay.
All right.
Let's do it.
Acoustic or electric?
Electric.
It's electric.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Do you play acoustic guitar?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I actually, I started a little later with acoustic guitar, but when I first started playing for Will McMillan, he's actually an artist from the Baltimore area.
Yeah, I know him.
I first started playing acoustic for him until I started playing electric for him. So he's kind of the one that got me into like the repetition of playing acoustic.
Yeah, okay. Finger style or pick?
It depends on what I'm going for. It depends on where my mind is creatively.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, whenever I'm playing like live or whatever the case is, I'm going to use a pick just because most songs would require it.
Okay.
But more acoustic style stuff like Best Part, Daniel Caesar, finger style.
Yeah, okay.
You know.
Worship set or freestyle jam?
Worship
or
set.
Shed. What do y'all call it?
Yeah, we call it shed.
Shed.
I love both.
Yeah.
I love both because, and I feel like we don't, as musicians nowadays in 2025, we don't do sheds enough.
That's facts.
Yeah, we don't, because like that's the iron sharpening iron right there. Like you getting embarrassed at a shed or you like being able to keep up at a shed was what got you home to practice again. You know what I mean? But worship set, of course, I love the worship atmosphere.
Yeah.
So, you know, both. I feel like I can't get better shedding if I don't worship.
That's facts.
So, yeah, both.
Nice. Studio session or live performance?
Ooh. Can I say both again?
No.
Dang.
The pick.
All right. Y'all need to see both of the all two above. It's a hard one. Dang. I would say. I want to say both so bad. Probably live only because of the people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
you get to feel the energy of the crowd.
You know what I mean? But the studio is where I get to be creative. You know what I'm saying? So it's like there is no live to me without. I mean, because of my own records, there is no live without the studio.
Okay. Yeah.
You know. So, but it's live. I go with live.
Morning devotion or late night prayer?
Oh, morning.
Always.
Oh, I'm about
to say you post your Monday motivations in the morning.
Yeah. So I was just telling you before we started, like I get up at 5 a.m. now to pray and read, and it's like the way I hear God's voice between the hours of 5 and 6 is something supernatural.
Okay.
It's really like at that point, it's like he's talking through like a microphone. And I'm just like, what in the world? But when you get into the repetition of it, you know what I mean? It becomes a daily act of discipline. Yeah. It's like you really create that space for him to just speak.
Nice.
You know, so yeah, definitely morning.
Okay.
Definitely morning.
Bible app or physical Bible?
I want a physical Bible, but right now I got the Bible app.
Okay, you got to get that goatskin leather Bible.
You know, I grew up with it. That's how I grew up.
Yeah.
You know, we had the hard copy joint, but I don't know what happened to mine.
Yeah,
but
we gotta get you one.
Yeah.
Get them sponsored by a Bible company.
Let's do it.
Worship music or gospel rap?
Probably gospel rap. Okay, does that have to be rap though?
Who's your favorite gospel?
Does it have to be rap? Could it be like Christian R&B or like hip hop?
R&B, folk.
Okay, yeah, that's out all day.
Do you have a favorite right now other than yourself?
Well, I'm not even my own favorite. Oddly enough, I don't have a favorite right now, but I would say the person who I grew up on was like Kenton Jones.
Oh, wow.
I was a heavy...
Is that the guy that says, you gotta stay safe?
Yeah, that's him.
That's
him.
Yeah.
I feel like he's so slept on. Like,
yeah.
He was because I couldn't listen to nothing else but gospel growing up. So that was like my hip hop or R&B. So like listening to him, I was a student and I was a fan all day long.
Nice, Kenton Jones. Shout out.
K. Joe.
Okay, so just to get into a little bit of today, so you do something called Motivation Monday. Is that what you call it?
Mood Switch Monday.
Mood Switch Monday.
Mood Switch Monday.
And I've been really excited about watching those. Like it really does help in terms of like setting your mind on a day, like intention and all that kind of stuff.
Sweet.
How did you start that? Like what made you start that?
Holy Spirit just put it in my heart, honestly. You know, I feel like I naturally have a gift of encouraging people. And I always used to filter that gift just to wait until I'm in person or one-on-one with that person or a group of people. And, you know, the Lord just placed in my heart to like, yo, start doing Mood Switch Mondays. First of all, Mood Switch. You don't know about Mood Switch? That's the name of my single.
Go get the song.
And Mood Switch talks about, you know, pretty much God changing your mindset. You know what I mean? Before He changes your situation.
Yeah.
So every Mood Switch, every Monday, I want to create a Mood Switch Monday that talks about all things life, health, wealth, family, and faith, just to give people something to look forward to with their week. You know, of course, on Monday mornings, because people usually hate Mondays.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like, they can look forward to their week and actually have something to remember, something positive to challenge them or to encourage them to, you know, go through the day or whatever the week may bring.
Nice.
Thank you.
And so how do you, because I know you play for a bunch of different artists and stuff like that, and you're in all these big arenas and doing all these crazy good things.
I'm blessed.
How do you balance the blessing of that and the faith aspect of that with all this, like, I mean, you could, I don't like the word fame, but like it kind of is, you're around these famous people in that world. Like, what would you say to a younger guitar player who's like, oh, I just want to be on, I just want to like play for famous people and do all this little artists and be in like Hollywood and all this kind of stuff versus like staying grounded?
Dang, that's a deep question. How much time do I have?
You got time.
I got time. Where do I start? Okay, let me start with this. It's not always what it looks like.
That's good to know.
It's not always what it looks like. It's great, don't get me wrong, especially if that's like your dream and your passion. But I will say, even being a believer, depending on who you're working for, I don't care if it's gospel or secular, you're going to encounter some things that make you question, like, yo, what? This like, what it is? Why are we doing this? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Especially, I hate to say it because I love this industry so much, but especially like with certain gospel artists, like you hold them to a standard naturally. You know what I mean? And I understand that we're all people. But
all human.
But for me, I just be feeling like, yo, you've been serving Christ for this long. Like, this should be some kind of, you know, some kind of other change, but I always leave room for like, you don't know where the person came from.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, you got to be careful like what you put your judgment on, because it's like sometimes you don't know what God is dealing with them with right now, and maybe He just ain't get to that yet.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I think that's you being a gracious person. I think you're gracious. I think you're kind. I think you have a lack of judgment in your heart against others, which I think is really good, especially in that industry, because you can meet people all the time who, like you said, are like, you know, these people that have been artists for however long, you expect them to have a certain level of like standard for their lives. And when they don't meet it, it's like, how do you not let that? Because for me, sometimes when I see people that are at this level mess up or like do something, how does that not make your faith waver, like on your personal?
Because I had to understand that they're people. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, we all come from different backgrounds. So like for me, I grew up born and raised in church. But somebody that has a high status grew up in the hood. You know what I mean? So they've seen things that I haven't seen. They've heard conversation or been involved in certain movements I haven't been involved in. Yeah. So it's like I had to leave room for like, no, your mind has a certain level of like exposure and maybe even trauma that I've never been introduced to. Yeah. So if I see a person trying to overcome that, and most of the time it's none of my business, but if I just know that about you and I can understand that about you, it gives me grace to be able to not waver when you may fall short in the area, because likewise I'm gonna fall short somewhere too. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like a lot of times we like to balance like their shortcomings, but they're really all just flat out wrong. You know, and it's just one of those things where it's just like, okay, how do I help you if you allow me into that space? How do I help you or be a light in this particular area of your life, to be a role model or be a person that help you steward this flaw, quote unquote. Yeah,
that's good.
You know,
and since you're so young, tell them how old you are.
I'm 26.
He's 26 years old.
I'm not that young.
Doing like these professional, gigs and whatnot. So being so young in the industry and, coming up in a space of like, it can be a little corrupt in the industry sometimes, like a lot of, I don't want to say a lot,
yeah, no, it's
but and so how do you like, being so young, even in high school, like what was kind of your journey through even getting secular jobs? Like, how do you balance that? Because I know if I'm young, especially if I was in high school and I have the opportunity to play for like somebody in the secular world, I'm probably off to whatever they're doing. Out, right? Like after the show, we outside.
I mean, granted, I'm not going to say I was perfect while I was on the road. It's very easy to like go out there and lose focus because the lifestyle just seemed like a fairy tale. You know what I mean? Like you're in front of all these people on all these crazy stages, get all these lights, endorsements, getting paid very well, playing historical records depending on who you're playing for, and it's like people enjoy you, and there's a lot of attention that comes with that. And then plus you're getting to hang out with people that normal everyday folk don't get a chance to hang out with. You know what I'm saying? They know you by name, you know them by name. For some artists they don't really, come out until it's time to come out. But other artists, they treat their team as a relationship. You know what I mean? Like when I was playing with Lucky Day, we would go out and grab food. You know what I'm saying? And just chill off at a restaurant, just eating out in public. You know what I'm saying? So like some artists definitely cherish that bond, and it's very easy to get caught up if you don't know who you are, if you don't know yourself. But I feel like that journey is very independent because sometimes you have to realize who you're not to know who you are. So like
that's deep.
It's like all things really do work for your good, even if they don't look good at the moment. You know what I mean? Like I didn't turn up with some artists myself. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not gonna lie to you, but I had to. It was certain seasons I could see God in it. It's like it's certain seasons where I'm on the road with these artists, and it's certain seasons where I'm home. And it's like that time when I'm home, it's like that purge, cleanup time. Like okay, reevaluate yourself. Let me show you who you are. Let me get you back in church. Let me do this. Let me get you around some more wholesome people. That have you grounded and that has you accountable. So it's like you get there and it's like okay, I have to like be careful and not to be yielded to this temptation because that's all it is out there.
That's all it is.
I mean, it's temptation.
And that's like
everywhere.
Easy money for the enemy. He's like, oh yeah,
easy. He don't even got. He got his foot crossed, just eating popcorn, watching you go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, put him in the room.
Yeah. So but at the end of the day, like when God has His hands on you, when He ready to snatch you out, He's snatching you out.
What was your first like professional gig with like a well-known artist?
We talking gospel or secular?
Both. Okay.
My first gospel gig with a well-known artist was Ty Tribbett.
Wow.
They had, I forgot the name of the festival.
I was about to say, when was that?
I think like 2018.
So were you even 20 yet? 2018.
Let me see. I'm 26. It's 2025. I might have been 20. Exactly 20.
Wow.
Jesus. 8 years ago. Yes. I don't know. That's a good question. I probably was like, cause I would think I was in college at the time, so I might have been like around 19, like 18, 19, 20, somewhere between there. But it was a festival, a gospel festival that they had at King's Dominion. And Baltimore at the time was like the band for Ty. Shout out Morgan Turner, Joe Pryor, J.R. Nelson. They are all Baltimore natives, and that was Ty's band. So they had that gig, that show in Virginia, and I just so happened to get the call for it.
Wow.
And for me, okay, if we backtrack just a little bit, I was always taught not to dream to do music as a career.
So what in the world? How did you switch? The mood switch.
It's crazy. Like
how? Wait, so you went to college?
I went to college.
Where?
Morgan State.
Okay.
Yeah,
all 4 years.
All 5.
Graduated. Okay, you graduated.
Yeah. Civil engineering degree.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate
You said civil engineering.
Yeah.
How did you get
I know, right?
music with that?
Because like once again, so I was taught not to do music, so I went the engineering route. You know what I mean? I was always pretty cool with math and science.
Okay.
So I just went the engineering route because it was like, you want to get a good job, you want to do this, you want to do that, the typical like,
You gotta make it.
You gotta make it, But all throughout college, music was going crazy for me. I mean, things I wasn't asking for was happening.
So you were still just playing for fun at churches or playing for club, like?
I was just playing.
Okay, playing on your
I was just playing, and then I remember one of my good friends, Armani Whitfield, shout out Armani, he was very involved in the community in the Baltimore area. So like playing at the local clubs, playing around Morgan State and stuff like that. And at the time when I came into Morgan, I wasn't mainly playing bass.
Ah, okay.
But he was playing bass and nobody had a guitar player, and there wasn't too many guitars in the area. So by the time I came on the scene and people saw that, we have a guitar player now, it's like, oh, yo, okay, bet. So I was able to meet folk, play at local bars and clubs and situations like between Baltimore and DC. I was actually part of a group called Sophisticated.
Oh, wow.
It's crazy, I remember that. And we just all over the cities between, Baltimore and DC, playing at different clubs and stuff like that. So that's kind of like when I got on the scene locally. Mm-hmm. Then when I started playing for Will, that's when I started getting on the scene within the industry.
Ah, gotcha.
So I started meeting Morgan. I started cutting records with him. I actually met JR at Will's church filling in on guitar for my boy Izzy. And that's how we got acclimated with JR. And, at that time, I don't know, I guess Baltimore just started finding out about me. So I posted a video and Joe Pryor found out about me through the video. And, things just started happening. So from there, like little calls here and there were going on. And by the time the Ty call came, that was kind of funny. JR sent me like a bunch of songs. And I'm just like, okay, which one are we doing? Learn all of them. I'm like, oh. So he said, I don't know. He going to choose from these though. So, I had to come prepared.
Wow.
And Ty's music ain't easy. Like Ty,
literally.
Yeah.
So you just always kept practicing. Have you done anything with civil? What is civil engineering?
Civil engineering is engineering dealing with infrastructure. So like roads, bridges, buildings, things of that nature.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So I was actually going to try to be a project manager, but I just went for the whole civil engineering degree.
Okay.
And I was at the time.
At least you got it.
Right. Yeah. Facts. And at the time, it was a lot to juggle because I was doing school, playing at church, having a part-time job, and traveling and touring.
Wow.
So it was a lot of like 2-hour nights, like trying to make sure I know the music and study for this final, you know. And it was God too, because I had professors that like admired what I was doing. Like
that's always good.
It's always a blessing. So like they actually was able to work with me. Like you get this done before you go. When you get back, you good.
Okay.
So it just was my integrity, my responsibility to make sure that I, completed everything I needed to complete.
Wow. And then on the secular side, what was the?
On the secular side, my first major gig was Lucky Day.
Okay.
It's crazy story how that happened. So back in, I want to roughly say 2016, growing up, I had a guitarist that I've researched and found online by the name of Chris Payton. He's a very well-known top-tier guitarist from LA, and he's played for the best of the best. So I met him at this musician summit in, I think, 2016. My cousin, his wife, and I rode out there. And it was a summit where they had like all the staple musicians come through. They would do panels, talk, play, and, just kind of pour into the community. So I went out there, and Chris was actually on the panel that year. So I saw him, met him. I went to his showcase, and he killed it. I was like, fanboy a little bit, because this is like he. Okay, the reason why I like this so much, he was a quartet guitarist.
Oh, wow.
And I grew up quartet. Like, my home church didn't have a keyboard player.
Oh.
So it was just like 1 to 3 guitars, bass and drums.
Wow.
And we just quartetted the whole entire
Sounds
3
southern.
hours. Very.
I was going to say country. I feel like that's negative. But.
Very. No, country, not shoot.
Okay.
I don't take offense to it. But, yeah, so like when I saw him and he was just on a whole different caliber, I was like, oh, yo, what? There's more? You know what I mean? So I saw him, I met him, and my cousin was like, yo, actually be your mentor. And I was like, man, I just met the dude. Why would I ask him that?
You don't want to do that.
Right. I feel like I'm being pushy, but I just went over there and asked him, and he was like, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, long story short, at the time, he was playing for Lucky. It's crazy. When I first found out about Lucky, true story, I was in the car with Monty, and like, he played the Painted album. And I'm like, yo, who is this?
Yeah.
And he was like,
amazing.
Amazing. Incredible. Like, one of the best talents to this day. But he played the Painted album, and I'm like, yo, who is this? He was like, he'd go by the name Lucky Day. In that moment, I kid you not, in that moment, Holy Spirit told me, you're going to play for him.
Wow.
And I was like, I don't know how that's going to happen, but okay, So when the Candy Drip tour came around, Chris was on the gig, and he actually was flopping between Lucky Day and the Isley Brothers. So when the Silver Spring show came around, he asked me to fill in for him. That was like the most pivotal moment of my life.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm playing and filling in for my mentor and the guy who I actually was like, he's my favorite guitarist. That just didn't seem real. Then on top of that, he allowed me to use his setup, his guitars, his pedals, and all that. So I'm playing these like expensive guitars that I've never touched or knew existed.
Is that like harder to do?
No,
it nicer.
It was nicer.
Yeah.
I picked that thing. I said, "Wait, what?" And I'm like, right. So between that, hearing his presets he had for his tone and all that, it was like life changing. Yeah, like he allowed me to use all his gear, and my first time in that kind of environment. So it was definitely something new. I was like, careful with, I wanted to be present, but I also wanted to learn.
Yeah.
So like, also make sure I come in there prepared and on the music. Then when I got there, they started giving me choreo. I said, wait a minute, hold on.
Choreo? Yeah, like to do with your guitar.
Yeah, like little slight choreo. It wasn't nothing crazy, but it was just like on the spot. I was like, oh wow, all right. I didn't know this. All this was involved. But yeah, other than that, it was a great show. My first time in that environment, of course, I had my notes, but everybody was like, yo, you did amazing. And then he started calling me back for more dates. Then by the time the transition kind of happened where he would stop doing that gig, he was going off to like play with like Jay-Z.
Wow.
And some of the other artists he was traveling, Ozzy still, and then he always been playing for Robin Thicke. And then at that time, he allowed, the transition happened to where I started playing for Lucky.
Wow.
And that was my first major secular artist.
And how you're around the same age? This was after Ty?
Way after Ty. This was probably after I graduated college, I think. So I had to be around like 23, 24.
Wow.
This had to been like just before COVID? No, it wasn't. I'm 26. So like around 24 maybe.
Okay. And since you grew up in the church and stuff, has it always been like, have you always gotten a lot of support from family about like these the secular gigs?
You got some good questions.
Has it been like, who that?
It's crazy. Nobody ever approached me, but I would say I never noticed the accolade. You know what I mean? Or like the congratulations.
Yeah.
Some folk did, and from the church, and some people that actually kind of surprised me. I didn't think they were going to be saying certain things, but like some people did. Of course, my camaraderie with musicians, of course, and people who actually listen to Lucky Day and stuff like
they're
that.
Like, oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, like that's golden in their eyes. But of course, to the church, like the very place where they told me I was supposed to be doing that, and that was honestly like a battle for me coming home, because I was always tunnel vision, so my faith would just take me far and my eyes would catch up. And excuse me, I would go and do so much and then come back to myself and then it'd be like, yo, okay, let's figure out what's really going on, because I never dreamed of this because I was told not to. I got bashed growing up. I got condemned growing up. I got told. I remember I got into arguments with my dad about just playing jazz.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? Like, so it was just like I had to.
Gospel.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And it was just like, there was moments where I had to be like, okay, so I didn't ask to do this. It happened. You told me I was going to play for him 2 years before I played for him. What's going on?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
What's really going on?
Like, what's really going on? And part of it, I believe is, it's not supposed to be forever. But I believe it's what got me to this part of my journey now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
Wow. Yeah. That's crazy. I mean, yeah, I think like being so young and going into spaces that you were told not to growing up, like it does shape you. Are you a PK?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
How was your experience with that? Like, were you always the guitar player because your dad or your mom? Yeah.
Not at all. It's crazy enough, like the most bash I got musically growing up was from my family. Okay. So
they didn't want you doing music.
I'm talking about even like in church.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because I was always a fast learner. So I could watch them play during service. And I mean, I'm like 9, 10.
Yeah, you're just copying.
And I'm just copying. I'm going home. I'm watching them. I'm hearing them. And I'm going home. And I'm trying to make the same shapes.
Wow.
Until something sounds right. And I could pick it up that night. So I can come back to church the following week, be like, yeah, I learned it, Jonas. And then like certain individuals didn't really gel with that. They didn't like that. You know what I mean? So I got called things like a copycat. Got called things, told I was never going to be nothing musical. Yeah, so it was kind of like, that was the most heat I really kind of got from my family. So at that point.
Did you have to like hide? Were you like Hannah Montana?
Yes, because when I stopped playing with my family, I started playing in high school.
Okay.
And that's when I started playing bass.
Where'd you go to high school?
Wynn Park High School.
Okay. That's in
Brandywine, Maryland.
Okay.
Yeah. That's on the south side. You know.
Yeah. I've heard of Brandywine. I know Brandywine.
But yeah, so I started playing there, and I was playing bass, and that's when I met Armani. I met my boy Mark and George, and we were like the house band, like different basketball games and stuff like that. It was actually a thing. They really enjoyed it.
You have a band.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was a situation. We did like little outside gigs and stuff like that, and it kind of cultivated me outside. That's when I started getting into different genres of music.
Okay.
And it cultivated me to like play outside the confined walls of the church.
So, wow. So how much pushback was it? Like, were you getting in trouble if they heard you were doing that? Or it was like, oh, we don't need you to do it. Like,
no,
you don't have to.
Not really. Because I wasn't really playing at church anyway. And I was in high school. So it wasn't so much bad music we were playing. You know what I mean? And it was sometimes it was still gospel too. Mm-hmm. So, no, because my family at that time didn't know I was doing that. Oh. So I'm like in secret getting better and getting exposed to more. And they don't really know about it. You know what I'm saying?
So in the process, do you know, this is so interesting to me. Do you know you're trying to get better so that you can become a professional guitar player, or you're just doing it for fun?
I'm doing it for fun.
Wow.
I'm doing it all for fun because I just love to play.
And do you just looked up, like, even when it came to after college, like after Morgan, you graduated and you decided to become a professional, like that's your job, that's your career now. Like, what did anything have to switch, or you're just like, this is better?
Was perfect. I can't do that.
Like, this is better than civil engineering. Like, this is more fun, or what was the decision maker for you?
I always said, as long as music worked, I would stick with it. Yeah. By that time, I had dove in so deep that even when my slow moments did come, or my slow seasons did come, I couldn't let it go. So it kind of like trapped me a little bit. Yeah. And it snuck up on me because it wasn't until like, I would say it wasn't, even with all the gospel artists I played for, it wasn't until like the Lucky Day phase when I was like, okay, I'm a professional. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I've been blessed to play for the top of the top in gospel between Todd Tribbett, John P. Key, like Miranda Curtis, like Corinne Hawthorne, like so it was just like between all that, it still wasn't quite clicking for me. And I guess because back then I wasn't seeing like the whole total fruit from what I thought came with it. So to me, it was just more so of a thing where it's like, yo, it's helping me pay my bills while I'm in school. You know what I mean? I'm meeting more people, so let's see where this goes. True. You know what I'm saying? So then at that point, it still didn't quite click. Then once I got into like the industry, I said, oh, this is a whole different ball game.
Like I can make a living.
Yeah, like you can really make a living. And it was just like, even at that, during COVID, I think 2023, God told me to start a business. Wow. And I'm like, for what?
You're like, I'm just doing this because I like it.
Yeah, and he's like, start a business. And I remember being in my backyard. We have a bunch of trees and stuff in the backyard. And that was my prayer closet during that season. It was warm outside. But I remember being back there and I told God, I said, all right, if I start the business, I need you to send the work. Yeah. And, I was like, okay, I'm going to step out on faith in this one. Did the work come right away? No. No. But I started it. So at that point, I had to see it through.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's a testament. Like, that's a testimony. That's a really, really good. Because I'm thinking about like kids that I know when I used to teach. Like, there was a student who was really good at music. He loved like singing, and he led like worship at the school. Like, I did this club with him where like he had Christian kids coming in. He was playing and singing at the same time, like doing all of this. And then I asked him what he was going to school for, and he was like, to be a doctor. And I was just like, why? I was like, you're so good at this. But he was like, my parents are making me, so he's at Maryland now. Okay. Becoming a doctor and stuff. But I was like, what are you going to do with the music? And he's like, I'm just going to do it, I guess, for fun, maybe. But like, I don't know. And it's like kids don't have that level of confidence or even the go-getter aspect of like, I'm still going to play because I like playing.
Right. I mean, I think it comes from like the fact that you're hearing this from your biggest influences. You know what I'm saying? They're the one telling you to go to college. They're the one telling you to be a doctor. They're the one telling you that music don't have no money in it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's like when you're hearing that from the people that raised you,
You're like, okay.
It's like, okay, it got to be true.
Yeah.
Until like you get out there and like my steps were just literally ordered. I was blessed. Like when I look back at it, it was really God's favor. Like just keep me on this path because it didn't have to happen.
Do you have any family or close relatives that are professional artists or musicians?
No.
Okay.
I mean, some of my family have like, done gigs here and there, but not of that caliber. No.
Yeah. Wow. So you just paved the way on your own.
I've been blessed. That's
wow.
what I say.
So if you had kids, what would you tell them in terms of like their dreams? Like, if you have kids, are you expecting them to kind of follow that same way of like, oh, if I like playing or if I like doing this, I'm gonna do it and I'm gonna practice? Or how would you tell like a younger person to go about being good at something that's seemingly just fun and then going after a real career, like not a real career because your career is real, but like a more, I guess, more serious to society?
Yeah. I would tell them do it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't expect my kids to just do music. You know what I mean? If they want to, by all means, I'm gonna push them. If they don't want to, I'm gonna be okay with that.
Yeah.
But knowing my family and my bloodline, 9 times out of 10, they're going to. Because like it's a little thing. They say all them Eastern boys pop out the womb with guitars in their hand. Like my family could just play instruments like guitar.
Okay,
nobody really played piano except for my grandmother. But between guitar, really mainly guitar, bass and drums, that's all we knew. So like it was always natural to us, and it came through generations.
Are you how many siblings do you have?
None.
Oh, you're an only child.
Only child.
Oh my gosh!
Only child.
So your parents could they were watching you. It's like, this is what I'm doing. This is my only kid.
Yeah.
Wow.
I feel like that's why they were so strict. They ain't had nobody else to take it out on.
How do you feel like that shaped you in terms of? Because I feel like for me, I have 6 siblings. That's the opposite. So it's like you glean off of your other siblings, what they do.
I'll tell you that now.
Like what your siblings do, you kind of mimic, or like you see who got in trouble, so you're like, oh, I won't do that way. Like, how did you go about this dream aspect of things by not having like an example to kind of follow after? Like no siblings, you just in your room with it.
Yeah, I mean, my dad was my biggest role model.
Okay.
But when he passed, I didn't have nobody. So it was one of those things. Like my dad passed when I was 17.
Oh wow.
So like I'm like 3 weeks away from graduating high school and about to start college in the fall.
Yeah.
So like at that time, I had no other choice but to just kind of figure it out on my own. You know what I mean? Of course, like I have virtual mentors. One of my virtual mentors is Steve Harvey.
Oh wow.
And I know people think he like, a little corny, but to me, I resonate because he got that country background, you know what I'm saying? That's kind of where I come from. And it's always a level of wisdom that comes with that. So hearing his story and like how he talks about success, how he talks about staying true to the path, the appointed time, how he talks about like, the faith you got to have. It was one of those things where it just kind of kept me motivated. Yeah. You know what I mean? It kind of kept me grounded to understand that, okay, this don't happen overnight. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It comes with a process. And when I understood that, I was able to appreciate the process because there's certain journeys, certain levels of your journey where you look back and you see what God was doing inside. Yeah. You know what I mean? One of my favorite scriptures is when God tells Moses, you won't see my face, but you'll see my backside. Pretty much implying like, you don't know when I'm going to step into your situation, but you'll see like the glory from it. You know what I mean? By the time it's all said and done. So like it helped me understand that in order to reach the appointed time, I have to keep going day by day. Yeah. And even at times I wanted to give up, like there's so many moments I wanted to give up. So many moments where I'm like, well, maybe they're right. I should go do engineering. Couldn't find jobs. You know what I mean? It was hard to get a job. And maybe this one time I said an interview and the lady was like, what day you want to do the interview? I said Friday at 2:30. And I missed it. She scheduled for Thursday. And by the time Friday came, I'm trying to go to the interview. They're like, yeah, you missed it. I'm like, what are you talking about? So like, it was like certain instances like that. I know some folks may be like, some people may be like, nah, it was just a mishap. But like to me, I'm like, okay, that don't seem like it was like just a coincidence to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it's constant instances like that where it's like, okay, maybe I'm supposed to stay on this path. Yeah. And every time I'm ready to give up, God steps in and showed me a reason why I should. Wow. That's really good. Yeah. That's wild. So I kind of want to just touch on your song, Mood Switch. And I remember you had your release party, or would you call that? Release party concert. Yeah, concert. And I remember I did that interview with people asking them like, what
I think it was like what impacts their mood.
Yeah.
Or what makes them have a good mood or something.
You killed it too. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah. But how did that song come about? Like, what was the impetus, or like what made you want to write about that? You asked some
great questions. Because the journey is, I keep, like, my story is God tricked me. Because that track, that mood switch that I used for mood switch, I produced it and I made it like 3 or 4 years prior. And in my mind, I'm producing for like Chris Brown. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, yo, somebody gonna pick this joint up and he gonna kill it. So at that time, I never wanted to be an artist.
Yeah.
And I think being in the industry, seeing how inconsistent it could be sometimes, I got inspired and I felt led to no longer have to wait for a call, but be the call. You know what I'm saying? So like,
that's good.
You know, it's like, okay, are you going to just completely put your hands in other people's success, or are you going to take the leap of faith to kind of step out and see what God do with your own?
Wow.
You know, so it was one of those things where God kind of backed me in the corner. I ran from singing my whole life. I never wanted to do it. Never wanted to be an artist. I didn't want to do none of that.
Yeah.
It was even to the point I asked God one time. I said, "Can I just make music and not perform live?" He said, "Nah." He was like, "Nah, bro, you can't do that." So when I finally like stopped running, you know what I mean? I was like, okay, cool. Let me just sit here and operate in this. And I went through my hard drive and found these tracks. I'm just like, oh wow, okay, cool. Let me see what we can do with this. And then I called. Well, I was actually trying to figure out who to help me write, because I could sing, I could like produce, but writing wasn't always my strong suit. So I had a friend of mine named John. We worked in passing for an artist named Bobby Michelle.
Okay. And
he was an incredible writer, and we got pretty acquainted during that whole session, that whole season. And then he actually started helping out with me, and he was kind of just really starting to dive in and owning on his spiritual journey. So it was perfect timing for him to like really kind of resonate with that song, because he's kind of going through it. Even myself saying yes to artistry and stuff like that, it's like, okay, we can really have something to write about. So that's when you hear like, so far from the man I used to see, truth is he always had his hands on me. I know it seems hard to believe, but it's who he created me to be. And it was just like, oh, okay. And then Mood Switch kind of came about because I just thought about somebody like, don't laugh. I thought about somebody that's like bipolar.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And it was just like, it's not funny. Like, I'm praying for y'all. Yeah. But it was just one of those things where, okay, what changed? It wasn't that I got $1 million deal. It wasn't that I got a brand new fancy car. It wasn't that I got some kind of endorsement. It was literally just my mindset. Yeah. That's all it was. Like, boom, like mood switch. So it was just like, you came and turned my life around like a mood switch. You think about a bipolar person, how their mood just changes at an instant. It's like before you know it, when God will finish doing what he's doing with you in a certain season, you just think different. You move different. You act different. And it was like, sometimes it happened quicker than what you expected. Yeah. So that's where mood switch came about.
Wow. So if you had to like tell someone off the street about your song, and you could only give them one lyric that would make them want to like download it, what lyric do you think?
Dang.
Like, you only got one lyric to tell them.
Okay. Probably Coach put me in. I know the game is fixed to win.
That's a good one. That's a good. It's universal.
Thank you.
I feel like everybody knows about sports. Yeah. And like wanting to be in something. So that's a good one. Yeah, because I think a lot of people don't understand, especially if they're not believers. Like, don't understand that like God's gonna work it out in your favor. He's not gonna withhold any good thing from you. Right. Especially if it's in the plan for your life. Exactly. And that he has a plan for your life. Exactly. I think people if you're not a believer, please become one, because it makes everything in life.
It's funny. That's actually my Mood Switch Monday topic for this week coming up.
Really?
I promise you it is. Dang, this happens every time. Either your dad preaches it or somebody has a podcast. I'm like, dang, is this away from me? No, that's literally the topic.
Well, give him a snippet. Give him because I just think, it is so hard to go through life without that. Because what else do you have to believe in? Exactly. If it's not, some people can't believe enough in themselves. So they're just like, I don't know how to do this. Right. But I think God has been such a big help. How do you think God has helped you the most in your faith-based journey? Like, how has he pushed you or changed your mind about something?
Where I come from, like, we always believe if God wants you, he's going to get you.
Yeah.
No matter what it takes. Like, if he wants you, he's going to get you. So having that at the center of my life has always allowed me to have some kind of like unction or like motive in the back of my head that allows me to like hear that faint voice that maybe God is trying to say something. There's other things in the way. Because my spirit won't rest.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, okay, maybe it's something I need to surrender. Maybe it's something that I'm doing all right, but I need to do better. Maybe it's something that, I got to kind of get in his face more about because he wants me to take this seriously. And it's just one of those things, especially like being a believer, it's one of those things where, first of all, you have to understand why to be a believer. Like, yes, we do want success here on the earth. We want to be able to walk in our dreams, live in our purpose, and make an impact, right? But this is like the difference between success and salvation. Because I find most people either serve God for one or the other. And sometimes it's very rare, and I believe it's becoming more balanced now to serve God for both. And that's why I love Celebration Church, helping people win in life with Jesus.
Yeah.
Because it helps you to know that, yes, we are supposed to be effective here, but the end goal is what's important. And it's like, you can't be so caught up in what you do down here that you're not ready for when God said, okay, come home.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like, that is like the ultimate reason why being a believer is important, because even if I only impact one person, when I leave here, where am I going?
Yeah, like if that was the assignment, let's do it.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, whether it's one person or the masses, I had to remember that me being grounded, for one, is for the people that are following me, and also for my own salvation.
Yeah, that's good. I always like to end off with asking the question, because this is called the Rhoyal Remix.
Love it.
What is one thing that you feel like you have remixed in your life, or that you feel like you're going to remix in your life to make it better, or just to change some aspect, or to remix some aspect of your life?
I feel like my whole life is a remix.
It is. You know, based on today's, I mean,
my whole life is a remix.
Yeah.
Because like, every time I get comfortable, it's time to move.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, when I was with Lucky, I got comfortable, stop.
Yeah.
But when I was with Lauren, I got comfortable, stop. You know, when it's time to get in the studio, I got comfortable, live. And it's like, like, I'm at this church, I got comfortable, leave. And it's just like, it's so many moments in my life where I had to just own it on faith, even when it made no sense whatsoever. Like, it sounded like 2 + 2 was 12. Right. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I just had to be like, all right, God, I trust you. And then I get on the other side, and then I'm like, oh, wow, that's what you were doing, you know?
Yeah.
And it allowed me to see like how big my faith is, and why it's so important, and to also encourage other people to own in on theirs. Yeah. Because it's not going to always make sense. It's not going to be fun a lot of the time.
Listen, it's not.
I mean, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, what you're doing right now, that's a faith journey. You know what I'm saying? Everything you overcome, even being a newly engaged woman, shout out, you know what I mean? That's a faith journey. You know what I mean? Like, I remember us talking in passing about like, you know, just the camaraderie of like having a relationship. Yeah. You know what I mean? And like, you posted things about how you feel like it's certain areas or seasons in your life by the timeline that you feel like you should be doing this or that by now. And it's just like, sometimes it's the very thing that you want the most, but God holds off. Yes. Just to get that last bit of surrender out of you.
It's like, get that character built up.
You know
like,
what I'm saying? And it's like, every time you step into that level, it goes deeper, and then it goes deeper, and then it goes deeper, and then you realize, okay, by the time you wake up to what's happened, it's like you're who you're supposed to be now. You know? So
that's amazing.
Yep.
Do you have anything that you would like to promote or shout out? Anything that you're doing soon, or that you want people to know about?
Yes. Go stream Mood Switch, and then follow me on all social media platforms at The Real Twan, TWAN21. Shout out to Voyage Baltimore. Voyage Baltimore, they just released an article of me like literally a couple of days ago.
Cool.
So feel free to go check that out. Stay tuned for new music.
Yes.
New things. You follow me, you'll see whatever's coming up next. And, you know,
and make sure you're subscribed to his YouTube so you can see his Mood Switch Mondays.
All the Mood Switch Mondays. Yes. If you haven't checked it out, go back and scroll and look at them.
Yes.
Love it.
Comment, like, and subscribe on this, and make sure you do the same on his YouTube videos. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you for having me.
It's been amazing.
Incredible.
Rhoyal Remix out.
Rhoyal Remix.